The transport shuttle descended through the ochre haze of the mining colony's atmosphere with a shuddering groan. Inside, a man sat perfectly still, his eyes closed not in rest, but in a practiced, weary nullification of his surroundings. The sharp lines of his uniform, once a symbol of pride, now felt like a carapace. He was a troubleshooter, a fixer of corporate catastrophes. This colony, bleeding money and productivity, was his latest problem to solve. He stepped out into the perpetual twilight of the domed outpost, the recycled air tasting of rust and burnt ozone. Foremen and supervisors in stained coveralls met him, their expressions a familiar mix of anxiety and resentment. For 3 standard days, he moved through the colony like a specter. He analyzed extraction metrics in grimy control rooms, interviewed tight-lipped engineers, and walked the echoing, mineral-dusted caverns of the mine itself. He saw the problem clearly: outdated equipment, poor morale, inefficient shift patterns. The solutions were logical, cold, and would involve layoffs and increased automation. He drafted his report in his sparse quarters, the words sterile and precise. On the morning of his departure, as he made one final walk through the lower habitation ring, a sound made him pause. It was not the grind of machinery or the muttered complaints of workers, but the clear, soft chime of laughter. It came from a small access alley between 2 pressure domes. Peering in, he saw a group of children. They were the families of the miners, a mix of species. In the midst of them, a little alien girl was carefully stacking smooth, discarded pieces of hematite into a precarious tower. Her species was one he knew from the files. The Cathari, small, with large, luminous eyes and skin the color of twilight. She placed the final stone, and her tower swayed but held. The other children clapped softly dot as he turned to leave. His boot scuffed a loose plate. The children looked up, their play freezing. The adults in the colony either looked at him with defiance or avoided his gaze entirely. But these children simply stared with open curiosity. The little Cathari girl took a step forward, her large eyes blinking slowly. "You look exhausted, sir," she said, her voice a gentle trill. The man stopped. In all his years, through countless reports and crises, no one had ever said such a thing. They commented on his efficiency, his sternness, his conclusions, but never his exhaustion. It was not a factor in any equation. He looked down at her, unsure how to respond to such an irrelevant observation. "There is much work to be done," he stated, his voice more brittle than he intended. "My mother says the machines are tired." "Too," the girl replied, gesturing vaguely toward the mine works. "She says they sigh at the start of every shift." "Do you sigh when your work starts?" The absurdity of the question, the profound simplicity of it, struck him with a force no corporate memo ever had. He thought of the groan of the shuttle, the shudder of the excavators, the low hum of the environmental systems, fighting a perpetual battle. He thought of his own quiet breath every time a new assignment alert flashed on his datapad. It was a sigh, a signal of a burden system. "I suppose I do," he heard himself say. She nodded, as if this confirmed a great truth. "My mother also says you can't fix something if you only listen to its broken parts. You have to hear the song it's supposed to make." One of the other children, a human boy, tugged on her arm, and with a final glance, she was gone, scampering back down the alley with her friends. The man stood alone in the sudden, heavy silence, the words echoing in a mind trained to dismiss the illogical. He returned to the shuttle port, but did not board. He canceled his departure. Back in his quarters, he deleted his draft report. The next morning, instead of summoning the foreman, he went back down into the mines. But this time, he did not look at the production charts. He walked up to a veteran operator, covered in grime, sitting in the cockpit of a massive excavator that was powered down. "Does it sigh?" the man asked. The operator, A grizzled human with tired eyes looked at him with suspicion that melted into confusion. What? The machine. Does it sigh when you start it? A long pause. Then a slow nod. Aye. A low hydraulic wheeze from the main actuator. Been doing it for 3 months. Means the seals are going. We report it. They say parts are on order. The man moved to the next station and the next. He asked questions he had never asked before. Not what is your output, but what slows you down. Not what is the failure rate, but what sounds wrong. He stopped being a corporate auditor and became a diagnostician listening for the song. Beneath the broken notes, the stories poured out. Not just about failing machinery, but about the leak in Habitation Dome 3 that dripped a melancholy rhythm, disrupting sleep. About the faulty filter in the mess hall that made the recycled water taste of despair, sapping strength. About the broken safety beacon in the far tunnel that made every shift there feel shrouded in silent anxiety. He spent days in the communal mess hall, listening. He learned the names of miners' spouses and children. He heard about the school module that had been repurposed for storage, forcing the children to be taught in shifts in a cramped common room. He learned that the little K-Thari girl's name was Kayla, and that her mother was a geologist who had theorized about a new, richer mineral vein but lacked the sensor array to prove it. A new plan, illogical and profoundly human, formed in his mind. It was not a report, but a proposal. He used his authority not to demand, but to requisition. He diverted funds from a discretionary budget, called in favors from supply masters, and reprioritized shipments. New seal kits arrived for the excavators. A repair team fixed the leak in Dome 3, not in a week, but in 2 days. The water filter was replaced. He found the old school module, cleared it out with the help of off-duty miners, and had it cleaned. Parents brought in spare fabrics to make partitions and cushions. He authorized the use of a small, mobile sensor rig for Kala's mother. Within a week, she had confirmed her theory. The new vein was not only richer, but easier to access, promising to reduce physical strain on the crews. Productivity did not just improve. It transformed. The size of the machines faded. The atmosphere in the domes lightened. There was laughter in the mess hall, not just from the children, but from adults who had forgotten the sound of their own joy. The day his replacement was due to arrive, a sleek corporate shuttle landing where his rusted transport once sat. The man stood at the observation window of the main dome. He was no longer just a troubleshooter. He felt, for the first time in decades, like a person. A small presence appeared beside him. Kayla looked up, her large eyes reflecting the distant stars. The machines sing a better song now, she stated. They do, he agreed. You do not look so exhausted. Sir? He smiled, a genuine, uncalculated expression. I am not. Thank you. The corporate envoy, a sharp-faced young man in an impeccable suit, found him there. Sir, I've been briefed. Your initial report was never filed. The colony's metrics have shown unexpected improvement. Headquarters is confused. The man turned from the window, looking not at the envoy, but at the colony waking to a new shift. The lights in the mine access tunnel glowed steady, not flickering. The air hummed with purposeful energy, not despair. Confusion is often the first step toward understanding, the man said. Tell them the problem was a systemic failure to listen, and tell them it is solved. He handed the envoy a dataship. It contained not a single recommendation for layoffs, but a detailed account of the repairs made, the community projects initiated, and the proven geological data for the new vein. It was a story of restoration. As the envoy departed, bewildered, the man stayed. He had requested a permanent post. He had more songs to listen for. Later, in the refurbished school module, Helping to secure a holographic star chart to the wall, he felt a tug on his tunic. Kayla held up a new rock, a piece of sparkling quartz from the new vein. "For your new office," she trilled. "So it will sigh less." He took the quartz, its facets catching the light. It was not a corporate award or a performance bonus. It was a cornerstone of a new foundation. He looked at the curious, hopeful faces of the children around him, human and Cathari and others, and he heard it then, clear and bright beneath the hum of the colony, the song it was always supposed to make. It was the sound of a home, not just a facility. And for the first time in a very long time, his own heart echoed the tune.